Good evening and welcome to Primetime News, coming to live and direct from the Newsfirst studios here in Colombo. I'm Bernadine Jai Singha. Let's now take a look at headlines.
There will be no power cuts during the Sinhala and Tamil New Year season. A proper solution will be provided for the power crisis by Vesak season, says Minister Ravi Karunanayake in Parliament. Parliamentarian Mahindananda Alutgamage raises allegations that the Secretary of the Ministry of Power and Energy should be held accountable for the power cuts. Who is the investor from Oman for the oil refinery project? A question from Parliamentarian D.V. Chanaka. Who is the investor from Oman who will be investing 30%? Sports First Alliance Platinum Awards commences with much pomp and pageantry.
Good evening to you. We are joining you again with a special report on a story that we are very closely following here at Newsfirst. Not only us, international media like Reuters and The Hindu from India have also begun to follow this developing story which connects India, Singapore and Sri Lanka. We're talking about this oil refinery project that has been commenced in the Mirijavila EPZ, the export processing zone in Hambantota. Now, let me recap to you what has been happening in the country thus far with regard to this particular project. During last week, on Wednesday, we reported that a $3.85 billion investment is being carried out, and that there is a situation, certain controversy and certain sense of situation where there is no clarity pertaining to this project exists with regard to this specific project. Thereafter, the government announced that a 30% stake will be invested by Oman and a 70% stake will be invested by a Singaporean company. One day later, the Omani government denied that they are going to invest in Sri Lanka. What happened on the day of the birthday of the Prime Minister of our country? On the 24th of March this year, the Prime Minister along with the Minister of International Trade, Malik Samaravikrama, and several others went to the location where this project is being carried out. They declared the project open. Now, in this backdrop, we hear that the Singaporean company that is investing in Sri Lanka is actually held by a person by the name of Jagat Rakshagan, who is a politician, a controversial politician in the Tamil Nadu government, a past Tamil Nadu government minister. Now, in this backdrop, he also reveals in an affidavit that he puts out that he is no longer part of this company that is investing through Singapore in Sri Lanka, and that his wife also decided to purchase shares from this company in Singapore. But as of right now, they have not made the payments, and that it is not a fully fledged company. For the opening ceremony that you just saw the visuals of, an Omani minister arrived. From what it looks like, he had arrived here in the country simply based on an invitation to attend this, and there was no evidence to prove that the Omani government was investing 30%, as the government claims, in this particular project. You saw this being discussed in Parliament as well. We have more, but let me draw your attention to yet another ground-breaking revelation regarding this story that we are following, an exclusive story as mentioned by Reuters. As it is clear, we are not the only media network that is following this. International media like Reuters and The Hindu are also following this story. Now, they have been able to contact this controversial businessman from India, Mr. Jagat Rakshagan, who is a controversial politician embroiled in certain corruption allegations as well from his country. And what does he have to say with regard to this $3.85 billion project that is coming into the country? Now, according to several ministers, including the Deputy Minister, this is the largest FDI that is coming into the country. They are naming this the largest FDI, but it's also marred with corruption, marred with a lot of a situation where there is no clarity with regard to this, as I mentioned to you earlier. Now, what does this Mr. Jagat Rakshagan have to say about this specific project? Let me quote what it said in the Reuters article. The project assessment and financial viability assessment will take at least a year. We have not sorted out any of the equity partners for the projects, but are in talks with investors from many countries. This is what Mr. Jagat Rakshagan, the Indian politician, has said. If you take a gist of what has been mentioned here, it is clear that initial documents have been presented with regard to this project, but no final agreement has been reached. He is saying that he is still on the lookout for investors. Now, the government, as I mentioned to you earlier, said that a 70% stake will be put in by this Singaporean company. What does Mr. Jagat Rakshagan, the Indian politician, have to say? about this money that is coming in. However, Jagat Rakshagan said he expected 70% of the project to be bankrolled by debt from financial institutions, adding that Silver Park would get more investors to fund the equity stake. We are looking at getting 20 to 30 investors on board for the 30% of equity investment in the project. We expect 70% of the project to be bankrolled by debt from financial institutions. What is going on here? From the 70% that the government promised that they will be investing through Singapore, through Silver Park International, the company, 70% of that is going to be debt from financial institutions. That debt has not been obtained as of yet, and he says that he will be looking into 20 to 30 investors to find the rest of the 30% out of the total money. That too has not been finalized. 3.85 billion US dollars, we don't have it. That is what is clear. On one side, when we say that the Indian partner who is in this whole process is saying we don't have the money because these are at preliminary stage. This is a report done by Reuters, a reputed media organization in the world. And on the other hand, the Omani 30% that the country is talking about, that too is questionable, because as of right now, the government, the minister, the deputy minister has not been able to show where this 30% or whether the actual involvement of the Omani government is not being mentioned by the minister or the deputy minister, or for that fact, no one in the government has mentioned clear facts about this project that is happening in the country. So this is the exclusive revelation that we have for you today. Let me sum it up again very quickly. India, through an Indian businessman, Singapore, was, according to the government, going to invest 70% of this oil refinery project. That money is not there because that is not finalized according to Jagat Rakshagan, and the government has not been able to clearly state that 30% from Oman, where and how it will come, and whether there is an involvement from Oman altogether as well. This was debated in Parliament today, and this is what happened in Parliament.
It was stated in Parliament that the largest investment to Sri Lanka and to Hambantota was brought in by the present government. A minister from the Oman government even laid the foundation stone for this project on the birthday of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. However, until date, we have not witnessed any representative from the government of Oman or any investor from Oman speaking regarding any investment, or of their intention to invest, or with regard to the 30% stake. Reuters has conducted an interview with the chairman of India's Accord Group, S. Jagat Rakshakan. MP, please do not worry about this matter. Even I read the article you are referring to. Do not panic. Be patient and see what happens. The issue is, Minister, the chairman of Accord says that it will take at least a year to find partners. Even for the remaining 30%, another 20 to 30 partners must be found. Another year will be needed for that as well. The chairman of Accord also says that the terms and conditions for this project have not been discussed as yet. What will happen when the foundation stone is laid prior to discussing the terms and conditions of this project? The foreign investors will know for sure that the project will not be awarded to anyone else. This will limit the Sri Lankan government's capacity to negotiate the terms and conditions of the investment project. So tell us, Minister, how did the present government lay the foundation stone for an investment project that is yet to be finalized? Tell us the name of the Oman company that is planned to invest in 30% of the stake of this project. I previously mentioned that this proposal was revealed to everyone in the manner in which it was revealed by the BOI. The director of this company and the minister from the government of Oman even laid the foundation stone for this project. You were present as well. Now the minister of Oman has invited Minister Kabir Hashim and Minister Malik Samaravikrama to Oman on the 4th of May. Although the foundation stone also has been laid, you cannot reveal the name of the investor. This is all a lie. Even the talks about Volkswagen were a lie. Honourable Member of Parliament, he spoke about the Volkswagen. The investment was brought in by a good friend of Namal Rajapaksa. Lawyer Selvanayagam worked for Mahinda Rajapaksa during the previous election. He is not one of our friends. He is his friend.
Parliamentarian Professor Ashumara Singha has resigned from the post of Assistant Chief Government Whip. He handed over his letter of resignation to Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe this morning, accepting the responsibility of the defeat of several expenditure heads in Parliament yesterday.
MPs of the joint opposition called for a vote in Parliament yesterday for the expenditure heads of the Ministry of Internal and Home Affairs, Provincial Councils and Local Government and the Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development. The expenditure heads of these ministries were defeated in Parliament yesterday. In his letter addressed to the Prime Minister, MP Ashu Marasinghe states that the responsibility of the defeat of the expenditure heads must be borne by the Chief Government Whip, the 2 Deputy Chief Government Whips and the 3 Assistant Chief Government Whips of the ruling party. In his letter, MP Ashu Marasinghe expressed his disappointment over his negligence, inattentiveness and inability to obtain support of the MPs in this regard. The letter addressed to the Prime Minister also expressed his disappointment over the inconvenience caused to Ministers Wajira Abewardhana and Patale Champika Ranawaka in this regard. There is no point in holding on to responsibility that you cannot fulfill. I convey this message as it is important for the ruling party to go forward. What happened yesterday was just a small obstacle. However, we are ready to go forward. I thought about my decision for a long time last night. I failed to fulfill my responsibility.
Parliamentarian Ashu Marasinghe resigned from his post of Assistant Chief Government Whip. Likewise, Minister Champika Ranawaka and Minister Wajira Abewardhana have the responsibility of getting their expenditure heads approved, and I think that they too should resign from their positions until their respective expenditure heads are approved.
There will be a complete change in the budget process following the defeat of the 2 expenditure heads. Please inform the Council of measures that you plan to follow in respect of the heads of expenditure of these 2 ministries.
Funds for the ministries have been allocated until the 30th of April. As per standing orders, the proposal can be represented and approved before the 30th of April. There is no reason to hesitate. Only 10 rupees will be removed. However, as per standing orders, we will present it again. Don't worry, the government will not fall. Similar incidents took place during our government as well. Heads of expenditures of ministries which were under then ministers Thondaman and Ratnasiri Wickramanayake were defeated. When such incidents take place, the Speaker would convene a meeting and discuss the relevant measures that should be taken. We do not disapprove the steps taken by this government. However, if they are finding shortcuts to address this matter, such will be considered inappropriate.
From the 2,312 billion rupees allocated to us, 320 rupees has been deducted. We can proceed with or without the 320 rupees. This is our fault as well. A few MPs were not present, but we tried to make an amendment and to re-include that 320 rupees according to the Parliament tradition. This is not an issue. We will get this approved.
Minister Patale Champika Ranawaka spoke about the defeat of the expenditure head of the Ministry of Megapolis and Western Development in Parliament yesterday.
This happened due to the negligence of the government. The government is making arrangements to pass this in Parliament by bringing in a supplementary estimate. This has not happened in the way the opposition claims. The opposition is afraid of us, and it was clear during the debate yesterday. They let out the grief of losing the 52-day revolution. This is a temporary incident. You will soon see how the budget and the ministries will start functioning on the 5th of April. They are all lies. The backbench MPs were present. It was the other MPs who did not turn up.
Despite everything that takes place in line with standing orders in Parliament and the existing legal system in our country, what message is conveyed through the defeat of the expenditure heads in Parliament yesterday? Does the defeat of expenditure heads of 2 powerful ministries not indicate the level of confidence bestowed in the government? Is the message conveyed by the ministers and MPs of the ruling party itself not powerful enough? Despite what is said by the Prime Minister, the public remains vigilant. The people are watching.
Following an event held in Battaramulla today, Minister Dr. Ranjitha Sienaratne was questioned by journalists regarding the defeat of the heads of expenditure yesterday. Expenditure head of the Ministry of Highways and Road Development and Petroleum Resources Development and the Ministry of Power and Energy and Business Development were debated in Parliament today. Attention was focused on the prevailing power crisis in the country.
The expenditure head of the Ministry of Power is debated today, but the Minister of Power is not present today. Every government had a national program for electricity, but ever since you came into power in 2015, there has not been a national program. The CEB has put up banners everywhere to celebrate their 50th anniversary. If you take a look at the money that you are spending for this, you will be able to set up a new power plant with that money. Arrangements were made to construct a 1,200 megawatt LNG power plant in Hambantota. What did they do in 2015 when they came into power? An economic committee was appointed with Paskaralingam. As soon as you came into power in 2015, you cancelled that project. The Sampur power plant was rejected by you again. The Secretary to the Ministry of Power and Energy should be held responsible. Batagoda is in the room. You should be held accountable. You have all the ministers who became the subject minister in your pocket. Ranjit Siyambalapitiya assumed duties. He was given 4,000 jobs and he was satisfied. How was the latest minister tackled? He was given choppers. Ravi Karunanika goes to Kerala Pittiya from Colombo in a chopper. He goes to Putlam in a chopper. He went to Anuradhapura yesterday in a chopper. The minister cannot do anything without the chopper now. The CEB bought 50 generators with a capacity of 1 megawatt each last year. Only 2 of the 50 is functioning now. Approval has been sought from the ministry to produce solar thermal power. But why isn't the approval given? It is because they are not getting a commission out of it. Emergency power should be purchased at the time of a drought. When emergency power is purchased, you get a commission. So this is an organized conspiracy to make things difficult for the government.
A report was presented warning about a situation like this. When tenders were called for emergency power purchasing, 3 companies were qualified for 100 megawatts. The 100 megawatts should have been included in the international tender process 40 days ago. So my question is, why wasn't the power crisis solved, as the problem has been going on for a long time?
රවී කරුවලනායක කියලා තමයි අමතුමාට කියන්නේ. එතුමා ඇවිල්ලා බොහොම කෙටි කාලයක් ඒක වෙනම කතාවක්. හැබැයි පහුගිය අවුරුදු 4 පුරාම
But not a single megawatt was added to the national grid during the past 4 years. Licenses of 590 solar power projects which have the capacity to generate 1,490 megawatts were not even considered. Why didn't the CEB let this environmentally friendly project to be carried out? Why were they locked up in the drawer?
මේවා ලාච්චුවේ දාලා වැහුවේ ඇයි? අමාත්‍යංශ ලේකම්වරයා සුරේෂ් බටගොඩ පක්කඩිම නිලධාරියෙක්. ලැජ්ජයි මේ රටේ විදුලි පාරිභෝගිකයාම ගැන තකන්නේ නැතුව Tamanට ගහන්න පුළුවන් විදියට තමයි මේ රටේ විදුලි බල පද්ධතිය කළමනාකරණය කළේ. පහුගිය අවුරුදු දෙකේම
The system was managed in a way that benefited them and not the consumer. Who got the emergency power purchasing tender during the past 2 years? It went to the Agrico company of Suresh Subramaniam. A Chinese company bid for a lower price when compared to the Agrico company, and that bid was rejected by Batagoda. This is one reason behind this power crisis. Suresh Subramaniam and Batagoda were good friends during the past 4 years because of what happened. Agrico will bring in a floating diesel plant. As soon as that happens, he will be interested in emergency power purchasing. For that, we have to switch off 2 bulbs to conserve energy. Soon enough, Batagoda and Agrico will reach an agreement for emergency power purchasing. Some ministers might let it happen for their own benefit. Former General Manager of the CEB, Vikramasekara, is behind this. Not a single megawatt was given from the Chunnakam private power plant. The CEB gave 1.17 billion rupees to this company during the years 2017 and 2018. The vice president of this company is Jehan Amaratunga. He is the business partner of Malik Samra Vikrama. He is the director board of the People's Bank during your time. He even obtained a loan of 100 million to operate another useless electrical company. So will this not result in losses?
වැඩ කරන්නේ නැති විදුලි බල සමාගමට කෝටි 10ක විතර ණයකුත් ගත්තා. විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලේ පාඩු ලබන්නේ නැද්ද? කෝටි ගණන් නීති විරෝධීව විදුලි බල මණ්ඩලේ මුදල් දෙනකොට.
We are told the country might experience a drought. Some media also warned about a possible power outage. You did not listen to them. You watched what was reported and called them the black media. And now the country is forced to be in the dark. Even the public is requested to conserve electricity. Who is wasting electricity in the country? Is it the people of the country or the state institutions? You ask yourself, who wastes electricity? In the north and the east, there are poor families surviving without the samurdhi. Among them are those who do not have the electricity facility. Whoever has the electricity use only a bulb or two. This is how a majority of people live in the country. Are you asking them to switch it off and be in the dark?
Politicians expressed their opinions on the prevailing issues on the supply of electricity at several occasions.
I saw cabinet paper being circulated on switching off 2 light bulbs per day. Now that is the solution proposed by the government. I read on a newspaper the Prime Minister stating that he uses a generator for electricity at his residence and he suggests everyone else to do as him. Those are solutions the government provides. Meanwhile, while MP Kanaka Herath participated at a media briefing convened by the SLPP, a sudden power cut was experienced. As the Prime Minister mentioned, we are now only left with the option of using our own electrical generators. They should resign from the government if they fail to fix this issue and provide electricity.
Meanwhile, making the reply speech of the debate on expenditure, head of Ministry of Power and Energy Subject Minister Rabikanda Nayaka expressed the following views.
On behalf of the Ministry and the Ceylon Electricity Board, I regret what has happened in the country. When the generation of power suddenly stops, employees of the CEB together with the engineers are closely monitoring the situation at hand to reach a sustainable solution. This will not happen during the Sinhala and Tamil New Year season. I responsibly say this issue will be completely resolved by the Vesak season.
The Island newspaper reported today that Manothita Vella, in his capacity as the Secretary General of the Secretariat for Coordinating Reconciliation Mechanism, instructed Sri Lanka's permanent representative in Geneva, A.L.A. Aziz, to accept the latest resolution 40/1 on behalf of the government of Sri Lanka.
Quoting authoritative sources, the island reported that the SCRM had instructed Ambassador Aziz in regard to the government's decision in respect of the resolution 40/1 led by the UK in the absence of the US. Responding to another query, sources emphasized that SCRM, a special body created with cabinet approval, carried out specific instructions received from the Prime Minister's office in regard of the Geneva process, and they dismissed allegations that instructions were issued to Ambassador Aziz clandestinely.
We are aware, and the President has mentioned the fact that the government is being controlled by 10 to 15 people. We know this clearly because even though the Prime Minister is Ranil Wickremesinghe, Sumandiran controls matters when it comes to national policies. On the other hand, it is Mano Thittawala who is operating the other matters. There is no need to be surprised by the corruption that is taking place under this government when it is being controlled and operated by people like Mano Thittawala, who has a number of allegations against him. Even against the backdrop where the country is collapsing, the ministers and the parliamentarians have been unable to leave aside people like Mano Thittawala and carry out the work. We are disappointed that the people who should be behind bars are governing the country.
Secretary General to the TULF, V. Anand Sangari, writing a letter to the former leader of the opposition and the current leader of TNA, R. Sambandhan, posed a serious question. Here's an excerpt.
Quote, please tell me whether you have any moral right to be in Parliament today. In my opinion, whatever assistance, financial or otherwise, you get as a reward will one day be surcharged on the ministers if a radical group comes to power. If you have any prestige to save, please don't accept any gift from the cabinet, which in the opinion of the public is unjustifiable, unwanted and foolish, unquote.
Wife of late Gamini Disanayaka, Srima Disanayaka, passed away at the age of 76 at a private hospital this evening.
Srima Disanayaka is the mother of Minister Navin Disanayaka and parliamentarian Mayantha Disanayaka. She contested for the 1994 presidential election as the candidate of the United National Party.
Veteran singer Angeline Gunathilaka passed away today at the age of 79.
The singer passed away while receiving treatment at the National Hospital in Colombo. Rachel Angelina Delanirol was born on the 22nd of December 1940. Her talents were first showcased during a program at the Sri Lanka Broadcasting Corporation. She made her debut in the Sri Lankan music industry with the Adara Ambare single and was also a playback singer for a number of movies, having sung over 5,000 songs. Angelina Gunathilaka won the Ranathissara Lifetime Achievement Award at the Sarasavi Film Awards ceremony in the 90s.
The Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, in cooperation with the Pathfinder Foundation, held the third in the series of international workshops on mapping the impact of machine learning and autonomy on strategic stability and nuclear risk in Colombo.
It has been recognized that recent technological advances in areas of machine learning and autonomy have an important improvement in almost all dimensions of military activities, warfare, including the use of airspace and missile defenses, electronic and cyber warfare.
Subject of the workshop was impact of machine learning and autonomy on strategic stability relating to nuclear risks. As you know, in the subcontinent we have certain situations which gives way to nuclear kind of confrontation, and the workshop was an international workshop held or participated by India, the Netherlands, Pakistan, South Korea, United States, Russian Federation and several other institutions, including a local company which is dealing with international intelligence involving a large number of foreign countries. And we discussed various situations that could take place as a result of using artificial intelligence, particularly in a background of nuclear weapons and similar kind of weaponry that may be used in the future in confrontation with one country with another.
With that, we wrap up Primetime News. I'm Bernadine Jai Singha. Take care. Good night.